To provide
Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Let me get the audio going. Not too bad. How are you guys doing? Give me 1 second, let me check something. Let me know in the chat, does it sound good? Looks like audio might be music might be a little loud, but let me know. Yo, let's get going. So, welcome to the weekly stream for Rainbow Trends. This is the Whale Watch with the Dude Runner. We're going to go over the stocks, memes, news, crypto, altcoins, where we are with the markets, where we think we're going to go. Look at some things, especially, I don't know, maybe talk about Greenland, maybe talk about a little bit of Venezuela, all this good stuff. But as a reminder, this stream is intended to be used for educational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as financial advice. But let's go. If you're curious at all why any of the dudes inside our Discord or on the Twitter, our friends and fam, are running and posting weird looking charts, it's Rainbow Theory, it's Rainbow Trends. We use a bunch of different tools to get an edge on the markets. We've revamped a bunch of the tutorials, so if you guys want to check those out, all the indicators and stuff here, if you want to learn about them, you can check them out here. So anyway, moving forward, let me kill the music. We have some very big news. It's been years, and I want to let you guys know. Fetty Wap is out of prison. I'm so excited. Imagine beating this man. He's back. We didn't forget about him. 2016 all over again. So yeah, Fetty Wap's back. Markets are kind of going sideways. Markets haven't fully reacted to prices in yet, but Fetty Wap is still doing good. No auto-tune there. So anyway, in all seriousness, let's get back. Remember, this is an art stream. We got to get back to the main topics. So, we got Fetty Wap back out of prison. Very big day, or very big week. Another one you guys don't really hear about a lot. I know we've got a lot of it's always Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, etc. Big week this week. BitGo went public. So shout out to those dudes over there. It's always cool to see a a crypto-related company ringing that bell and on Wall Street. It's a lot of work, and it's cool. I think the more we become mainstream, maybe the more boring we'll get. I don't know. But it's cool. And I don't know who this is, but I gotta find out. This dude here, he's rocking cyan blue hair. We need to get him on the team. And then some dude with a cover mask. Let me see, is that TradingView? Could you guys recognize that? What's up, Pepe Cinco? What's up, Sean? Yeah, Sean, our time zones are always weird. Man, I wish I could get a better view of that. I can't tell if that's a terminal. Maybe they don't use TradingView on Wall Street. Who knows? For all I've heard, this is just kind of for show. Kind of looks like that here, but it looks cool. But shout out to the Big Go dudes. That's cool times. But anyway, moving on. So I show you guys exciting thing. Fetty Wap's out of prison. BitGo's going public. I have to balance the vibes out with some bearishness. So these dudes are 3D printing pit axe enclosures, so that they can apparently just plug them in at airport terminals and start mining Bitcoin by stealing electricity. Every time I see someone doing something ridiculous with the mining equipment, it just makes me so bearish. I think prices have to go down the more crazy we get. The best one I've seen to date. Now, you guys typically see people using like old mining equipment. They're like, hey, it's not profitable anymore, but it does it's very, very efficient at turning electricity into heat, which is true. It makes a little bit of Bitcoin compared to what it used to do. It just, in general, you spend $20 of electricity to make $10 of Bitcoin. It's better to just go buy it on Kraken. But some of the dudes turn them into stuff that makes heat, like they're making water heaters out of it. They're heating hot tubs, which was pretty crazy. Now, the last best one I ever saw was a guy had a chicken coop up north that needed to keep the chicken coop warm to keep the chickens happy. Which that was the best one I've seen to date. But I see this, and they're mining Bitcoin in an airport, what I believe is an airport terminal. So I just got to bring that up because I got to bring the vibe. We got to balance the vibes. We can't be all bullish, right? All bullish. But in reality, I haven't looked at mining stuff in a while. You know, us in the streams, we occasionally take a look at the mining equipment, where the miners are at. Not the mining equipment, mainly the hash rate. One of the biggest things is with crypto and Bitcoin, we kind of want to just, it's not a direct correlation, but we typically want to see we want to see them keep adding hash rate to the network. Slowly but surely, just keep adding hash rate. If for any reason that hash rate starts dive bombing, we get a little spooked. But for a different take this week, I wanted to take a look and actually look at some of the miner profitability. I used to look into mining stuff all the time, and I never could get the numbers to work for me with the electricity costs that I have in my local area. But it was always fun and just like something to tinker with. But just the risk to reward, I just, mining it for fun to secure the network, that's one thing. Mining it for profitability, whole nother animal. But I went and checked this website's called asicminervalue.com. It's really cool because it actually shows you, I'll drop it in the chat if you're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. And by the way, drop a like, comment, subscribe. The likes go a long way. I'm using like 20-30% of my daily reach rate on X right now. So shout out Nikita. We're doing what we can. Maybe boost the dudes who actually figure out how to freaking connect the API to do live streaming on Twitter. That would go a long way. But anyway, and it's also make the stats readable because I cannot read how many people are currently viewing on Twitter. Got a handful on YouTube. Shout out to the OGs. But back to the point. asicminervalue.com. You can see like what the what the miners are at, right? Like in your area, you can plug in your cost of electricity per kilowatt hour. That's 1,000 watts of electricity over an hour of time. Typically, the low end in the United States is like 10 cents, maybe 20s on the high end. But typically most people can get like 12.5. But you can adjust this, and they'll give you, hey, here's your price of what this miner can do in 24 hours. One of the things I thought was really, really interesting when I pulled up this chart, because man, I haven't looked at this chart in a very long time. It's all Zcash and Monero equipment that is kicking butt, and I always thought it was funny because I've never seen a photo or a picture or a tweet, a video, nothing. I've never seen a single post of anybody who mines Zcash. And maybe that's like the running joke. Privacy miners don't post anything on socials. Maybe that's the joke. But it's pretty interesting. It's these things fluctuate in price so bad. But I bet this thing's like $14,000 right now because it makes $30 a day, which is crazy high. Well, let's see. Where's Bitcoin at? All right, top of the line Bitcoin S23 Hydra from Bitmain costs $7,000, $7,700, and it'll make you $13 a day. It's a moneymaker. Dear God, that can't be right. 11,000 watts? Ooh. Are they serious? 11,000 watts. That's like plugging in 6 hair dryers in your house. You would blow all the fuses out. Dude. That's not a typo. Like, a 5090's like under 1,000. That's crazy, crazy, crazy. Later, Sean. Much love, dude. Oh, that's crazy. And it looks like a cool server rack. I bet that thing howls. Howls so loud. Wow. And also, the other thing, the Doge and Litecoin miners are super profitable right now. And then, not much Bitcoin here. Here's a normal liquid-cooled one. It's 5,500 watts. That's still a ton of watts, guys. Like, your standard 15-amp plug, or even your 20-amp wall socket in your North American house, it's not going to pull that. This likely runs on... I think these actually run on, like, 360 volts. Anyway, weird output. You would need a transformer. Anyway, moving on. We're not going to nerd out too bad in electricity, but you know, remember this is not financial advice or mining advice. So we're going to keep moving on. So back to reality. Trump took over Venezuela with Delta Force actually blasting Fetty Wap. Got kind of confirmation this week. Those ultra secret weapons that just started making all the security guards bleed from their noses is apparently real. Which is kind of scary. Well, it's kind of scary. That's freaking scary. But they're already bringing in the oil back into the United States. And we knew that, and we saw an initial jump on a lot of the oil companies that were there. So let me broaden this out for you guys. Venezuela has a ton of oil. A ton of it. It's one of the biggest reserves in the world. And the problem is oil is really hard to get out of the ground. There's a lot of infrastructure, and the infrastructure takes a ton of maintenance. A lot of this infrastructure used to exist in Venezuela, and then a lot of the American companies or the big oil companies, not all of them are American, shout out Shell, they have to maintain that stuff, but they got kicked out. So all this equipment, like I think 80-90% of the infrastructure that was set up in Venezuela just went to shambles or got robbed of stuff. And it's sorry, I was checking the bit rate. What's up, VV? We actually got a dude on Twitter replying back. What's up, dude? So the big thing is we're coming up with the midterms, i.e. Trump's only got like 2 years left. So there's this big window of doubt, right? Chevron, BP, Shell, all these people want to go jumping right back into Venezuela, get this stuff back online. But we're talking about a multi-year investment. With Trump leaving the office, if a Democrat takes over, will they get kicked? Will Venezuela be handed over and then all these dudes get kicked out? That's the big investment kind of question right now in the oil field. Spoiler alert, I'm a subsea engineer. I'm really, really tied to what happens in South America and the Gulf of Mexico. Sometimes Asia oil as well. But regardless, it's a thing that they're looking at right now, and they're trying to want to get reassurances. Like, if we actually spend 5 years worth of investments, are we going to get kicked out in 2 years? Is something they need to look at. Oil initially right now, looking at it here, to be honest, so this was a range that we followed for years. Bam, 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 bam. And we broke down and below. This looks a lot like the old Target chart that we used to look, like the actual merchant store. It actually looks like we're showing a bottom here, which is nice because in reality, whether you guys hate oil or like oil, this is about as low as you can go and have the main operator still operate. and not just destroyed. Now, right now, dude, oil operators, they are cutting big time. Hey, Runner, is it AI related? Some of it actually is, which is interesting, is oil field is picking up AI, but they're taking out a lot of the OG subject matter expert graybeards and just wiping the floor and like downsizing. So you're seeing a lot of these companies downsize, get their personnel head costs down, and then focusing on continuing. So hold on, guys. I'm getting some stream drops. Can you guys let me know in the chat if we're having too bad of an issue? Streaming video bitrate. I'm gonna cut the bitrate down a little bit. I don't know why it's acting like this. Let me see if that helps. I don't know why it's acting like that. Let me check. I'll kill that. Yeah, let me know. How's it looking? Reset. Nope, it's not a problem. All right, well, we're good on X. Shout out Nikita. So anyway, back to the point. This is about as low as you can really go before the big boys just start shutting down completely. 60 is really about what the limit is, at least in the Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it. To me, I just call it the Gulf, but same thing. Pluto's still a planet to me. Thanks, Pepe. So I think logically, if they don't want to start shutting down the big boys, this has got to be coming in at 60. Now, the thing is Trump just start dumping the market with Venezuelan oil. That's not going to be good either. He wants really, really low oil, but at the same time, he is going to have to be cognizant that too low of oil is going to really, really hurt some of these big operators. Now, big thing, Venezuela, operations go, go, go. Chevron's going to be rocking and rolling, right? And we got an initial pump out of Chevron on this news here. Let me slide these over so we can get better charts. I hope these charts look right in the coloring for you guys. Now, you guys see these stuff stacking up. Rainbow Theory 101. Get your little rectangle tool here. Set it up so it draws to the right. And you can start drawing your order blocks, right? And we can start figuring out where these are in the charts. Chevron's going to be very, very heavily tied to Venezuela. And that's the thing. Politics aside, we're not talking politics. We're looking at how world events affect the charts. Surprise, not everything is in the charts. World events matter. We've seen China move charts like you wouldn't believe off just the craziest news. But we have to pay attention here. Chevron's a big boy going into Venezuela. They're going to be super, super tied to it. They're at a very, very big kind of order block here. You could stretch it out if you want here. But if we zoom in on the H4, we want to see what happens here. They've got earnings coming up. They've got Venezuelan news, right? Blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, they're going to go jump into this country. They're going to start trying to resurrect all the stuff that was left there. And none of this stuff's easy to come back online. An oil well, when it's flowing, it's happy. The instant you stop that damn thing, it does not want to come back online. It wants to ice back up. It wants to do all these crazy things. There's actually a gas inside of them that's flammable. Surprise. The stuff that comes out of the oil well is flammable. Thanks. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell your friends. This is where the alpha is. No, there's a gas inside of them that turns into ice. It turns into like a crystal. It doesn't like low pressure. It likes staying warm and it likes staying flowing. But if you don't, the gas will dissolve out of the hydrocarbon oil and it plugs everything up and it's nasty. They call it a hydrate. That hydrate, it looks like ice. If you actually get the ice to surface, you can grab a block of ice, quote unquote ice, and you can light it on fire. It is crazy stuff. But it's really hard. Long story short, it's really hard to bring back old equipment, especially old equipment that may or may not have a paper trail of what the dudes who left did with it. So some of it will definitely come back online, but we're talking like multiple years. That's why these countries are like, they're jumping into Venezuela, but they're wanting reassurances. So we've got to really keep an eye out, right? In general, since 2022, Chevron has been a sideways chopping trade. Is this looking like uranium charts? No. Is it something to pay attention to because it's buddy-buddy with Trump right now going into Venezuela? Yes. Why? I can be lazy, and I can wait for these things to start printing. This is a range. It's multi-year, right? This is clearly sideways price action. I can be really, really confident here. I say confident. I can be a sideline, bro, and just wait. We want to start printing above 190 and walk out of this. It's potential, and we need to see what happens. If they really start getting their foothold into Venezuela and locking in and getting this infrastructure online, it's an engineering company doing what they do best, and then they'll bring a bunch of product to market and sell it for profit. That's where it goes. ExxonMobil, similar story, but they've already broken out. ExxonMobil's tied directly to Venezuela as well, a little more than Exxon for sure. I may be misspeaking between the two of them, but in general, this one's tied to it as well, and this is where we saw the immediate news breakout. This is why I say news matters. That's not a hidden bull div on your OBV on the 38.2 minute chart, right? Big deal. Now, Chevron may end up doing this similar pattern. Sideways for years, finally breaks out of the range. This chart's a little cleaner, and we've had a pretty cool uptrend here. But it was interesting is, like, this thing grinded until that invasion, and then it popped out. So, shout out to those dudes who've been long, because that's an awesome trade. It's only like 30%, but it's still cool. Another one to start looking at is like Halliburton. This could be a lagging trade as well. Halliburton hasn't been looking so good here, but in general, this is a type of bottom we like to see with Rainbow Theory stuff. So it's pretty cool. Big capitulation here. $19 up to 33. But in general, these are big OG oil companies that are going sideways, not doing so well with the low prices of oil. But if this stuff gets involved and they go into the fields, yeah, big upside potentials on these. I didn't do it, but let me check Oxy. I don't think Occidental's doing well, but yeah, Oxy's not doing so hot. But maybe this is something you could be a lagging play. But it's the same thing. This is get her above 75 and she's gonna go. Now it's a big ask at 43, but maybe you could catch a rainbow reversal here or just sideline it. The other ones are moving, this one's not, so let's ignore it. We're okay with ignoring stuff. So we're going to cover some stuff later in the charts. Stuff we can't ignore anymore. It's going to be interesting. So, all right, moving forward. Do you want to nudge in the bullish direction? You remember the last time Trump told us to buy the stocks, and then it was like the Pico bottom, and then everything just completely sin? He's saying the stock market is a dip peanuts. Stock market will double. So Trump's got a S&P 14,000, I guess, is what he's currently calling for. And also, if you guys haven't been following the news, Trump has been real chatty lately, and people have been... countries have been arming up. It's been the dumbest things. You've seen people... I forgot which country it was. I think it was... Was it the UK? Yeah, it was United Kingdom. United Kingdom flew a single soldier over to not the United States. They sent a single soldier over to Greenland to defend it. A single soldier. Probably James Bond would be my joke, but and NATO started throwing down, saying, "Hey, blah blah blah. This we'll defend this." So crazy turn of events. Trump could be invoking Article 5, which is just crazy. Norway, thank you, sir. Now, it's just so. Trump has a playbook, which is really funny because he tells you in the playbooks how he negotiates, right? It's always about planned uncertainty and just being unpredictable, which is funny because the books tell you here's the map of how to be unpredictable, right? But he's talking about, oh, we're just gonna take Greenland. Oh, we're gonna buy it. Blah 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 blah. And he gets over to the World Economic Forum summit thing, and he ends up meeting with NATO, and they cut a deal. And it's like, hey, I just need a piece of Greenland. If you guys don't know why, Arctic Circle, Russia doesn't have that many good ports to launch submarines from or naval assets, so they launch out of the Arctic, which has big exposure. Means they've got to come around the west tip of Europe. That's right around where Greenland is. So Trump's wanting base camps in Greenland to help intercept this threat. So he's also secured mineral rights, by the way, which is interesting because I'm not. Maybe it's chock full of minerals under that ice. I don't know, but stock markets were really like pissing themselves over this, and it's the same thing, guys. Like when we were talking about, we did the tariff trade. We're like, yo, stocks are gonna nuke. Man, it's saying I'm dropping frames like crazy. Are you guys okay in the chat? I'll drop the output some more. Drop this down to like 7,000. I don't know why it's being weird tonight. We're on gigabit internet right now. So anyway, I'm going to keep going until you guys complain. I'm going to ignore the stats. But Greenland's pushing through. He just wants a piece of it. He wants a foot base and some mineral rights. Same thing like when they were negotiating with Ukraine. Yeah, we'll do a defense deal with you, but you guys got to give us some mineral rights. It's just some way to secure payment. But reminder, all this stuff, is nuclear war gonna happen? Maybe, but at the same time, if we're trading, does it matter if nuclear war breaks out? It doesn't, because either the charts keep working and we get a bounce, or the charts aren't just gonna work anymore. Like computers aren't gonna be a thing, right? So it's the same thing with the tariffs. We traded the living hell out of this tariff trade. I'm over 6 figures exposed here from like retirement accounts that I added below like $5,200. So like we traded this panicky, and like we forecasted like, yo, this is the worst that's ever happened with the S&P. This is the worst the whales have ever done in the entire history. Drew out our wedge. We started showing support, showing rotations, got exposure, and then we've been channel walking it up so far. Now this Greenland news, you can actually see it in the chart. Now Rainbow Theory 201, this is a channel walk. This is where whales get in control and they take a heading direction and they bounce it in here, and they have algos that kind of defend it so they can keep the overall it's not orientation, but like the slope of the trend per se, right? That's really what I kind of call it. And when these channels break, I get really, really attentive. Why? Because big things can happen. In the crypto industry, when a channel walk breaks, dude, you're normally looking at like a 40-60% pullback over like a month or two. But it's free money until they break. So been watching this one because we walked all the way up to $6,900 in the first channel walk, and then we had a channel walk break, which then turned into a channel walk shift. So what is this channel walk shift, runner? So sometimes what these whales will do, they will have a channel walk and a heading, right? Pick your slope, pick your thing. It's normally over at least 2 to 3 weeks, and they will sit there and bounce price inside that channel in control with an algorithm. It's algorithmically controlled. Eventually, they lose interest and sell, or they lose control. If they sell and they exit, 40-60% bleed out, right? That's the pattern, and you don't want to be here for this because it sucks. There's not a lot of liquidity there, and it just bleeds out. It doesn't do fun stuff like go down and V-bounce and bounce back up. It just bleeds and goes to hell. But there is something called a channel walk shift where they temporarily lose control of the move. They break out of it, and then they regain control, and they continue the same slope orientation. Why do they do this? I don't know. I just... All right, OBS reconnected, and let me know if you can see. Test. I may have lost everything. Anyway, if you guys are here, I just relayed the top 10 secrets how to make $1 million overnight. Glad you guys took notes during that brief break in the stutter in the stream. I hope you guys do well, and we'll see you guys next time. I'm kidding. I just need to make sure that the frames are good. It says we're connected, so let me double check YouTube, let me double check Twitter, and let me know if you guys can see it. I'm sorry for these pauses, but OBS is throwing down. It doesn't even say I'm live on Twitter. Unable to connect. We lost Twitter. I think YouTube's back. Give it a second. See YouTube. YouTube is still live, but we dropped Twitter, so that's. Let me know if you got. That's okay. All right, I got Twitter back. Stream dropped. We are back at it. Why whales matter. Thank you, Nikita. So anyway, channel walk summary, because you guys probably missed a little chunk of this. Thanks for those hanging out. Channel walk, shift, they control it, but eventually they can't do this. I've seen them do this for 6 months before in crypto, and it was some of the easiest money I've ever made. But Eventually, it has to come to an end, whether they take their profits or they you can't take an asset and go 20 to 30 degree slope forever. Otherwise, you'd have S&P 50,000 within a year. Eventually, it has to break, and that's where you have to be very, very potential, because you've been riding this for months. You think you're unstoppable, and you don't want to sell your position. When channel walk breaks, I get real skittish, and I get out because I don't want to be there for when the bears take over. Right now, we have a channel walk shift, and if we zoom in on this Netherlands Article 5 NATO scary stuff, we dropped out of the channel, and I was like, oh no, we actually gapped down out of this thing. I got real scared, and I was like, dude, we've got to pop this back up real quick to keep the channel walk going, to try to get this thing to hold over 7,000, or we're legit going to have some type of break, right? Whether that is like this, so you can see these channel walks break. Channel walks break. Sometimes on the S&P it's just a little bit. Sometimes it's real bad. This isn't necessarily a channel walk, but you can see 20-30% pullbacks can happen. This one I'm skittish of. And it's not that I'm bearish. I just want to lock in profits that are in the bag, right? That's the key. Don't lose money. That's the goal. So, Channel Walk 101, and then a reminder, we have a rate cut coming in May of this year, which is only a few months away. Why do I bring that up? Our guy Powell, who controls the market of rates, is leaving in May. So he may do some 25 and 50 basis points here and there, maybe a 0, maybe a 75 if things get crazy. But he's out, and Trump's going to put someone in there who's going to shove rates down to like 1%. So big structure change is coming. Is it bullish? It should be. But because everyone says it's bullish, it makes me scared. And the fact that the current rates we have are producing full send all-time highs, maybe a drastic change to the rates is not what we think it is. And since we're live on YouTube, what comes next may shock you. So anyway, moving on. Updates on the Greenland deal. Under Greenland deal, Denmark would get the United States sovereignty over small pockets of Greenlandic land, where the United States could build military bases according to the three. He's going to put bases there so they can sit there and intercept nukes. There's a lot of stuff in the armed forces that aren't super scary. Nuclear subs are pretty scary. They're hard to detect, and they've got a lot of ass. If they really want to throw down, they can deploy a lot of nukes, which is a lot of stuff. The other one is like hypersonic missiles, which can't be really defended because they're so damn fast. That's why they want to sit there and try to intercept this stuff up over in the Greenland. Apparently, it seems like our sub hunters are pretty damn good, though. To be honest with you, if you watch the old flight trackers and you see the little subs doing, or the little sub hunting birds doing their little circles over and over the map, it's very, very clear that there's like a Russian sub under it. So it's pretty cool. We got a taste of that when Russia sent some submarines over to Cuba for some celebration over in Cuba, and all of a sudden they saw these nuclear subs, Russian subs, pop up in port in Cuba, and then they went back under, and then all of a sudden you saw the U.S. Navy had all types of surveillance aircraft flying over the East Coast. It was fun. Fun day. But moving on. So, kind of funny thing, I don't know if this is true, but apparently over in Davos, Al Gore was apparently booing Lutnick, which may or may not be true. I don't think it's true, but I'm not going to tell you guys it's false, because it's just hilarious to think if Al Gore's over there actually boo. So we'll see. But to reality, Greenland deal's in the bag, negotiations with NATO, back to Iran. So if you guys don't know, there's a lot of nuclear ships heading towards Iran right now. You also remember they try to do this stuff on weekends and at night when everyone's sleeping. Fire up your Doppel charts. Definitely follow Dopp. He's fun. He's real cryptic sometimes, but you just got to give him some slack. He's very, very Linux based. But yeah, we may get the Iran invasion. It almost allegedly happened. What was it, last weekend? But then they called off some of the mass executions of rioters, so Trump stopped. Either way, there's a lot of Air Force and naval equipment going into the southern Iran right now. So they're arming up to at least threaten and maybe make a deal or actually take them down. I don't think a deal's possible with the recent Black Hawk deployments that took out some of the nuclear facilities, but you guys let me know in the chat. I don't know. I think they're more looking for regime change, but maybe the stuff in Venezuela was just to show superiority that they can do it. I don't really know. Either way, I'm not a war guy, but we definitely have to pay attention to this. Iran. The other thing too is I think the other move behind the curtain that they're not really showing this is he's trying to choke off all the access points for oil as well as the markets to sell raw crude oil from Russia to cut off their money supply. So if you can't get them to come to the peace table for the Ukraine war, you choke them out. Venezuela was a big Russia counterparty for oil trading, so that's no longer a thing, and they continue to board and seize Russian-related oil cargo ships, which is a big deal because that's in general you don't mess with boats. Just in general rule, you don't mess with boats. And they're taking over multiple, and then I think it was Germany today took over some. It was one of the European countries. They took over some oil tankers as well. So they're gonna knock down the Russian oil because, like, you guys remember, like Europe was fully supporting Ukraine, but they were sitting there at the same time buying natural gas and oil directly from Russia, which is just the craziest. They're yelling at Putin and sending him paychecks, which is ass backwards. So, anyway, moving on. An interesting one our quants are going to enjoy is New York Stock Exchange to launch 24/7 U.S. stock trading through new on-chain tokenized exchange. I'm super excited for that because this is going to change the trading dynamic of a lot of stocks, whether you like it or not. And we'll see. You guys, when this launches, we may get some knife catches on TradeFi that has never been seen before. What's the liquidity look like at Tesla at 3 in the morning? We are going to find out. And we might be able to catch some bomb wicks, especially if it's liquidity tied to a token, not the actual asset. The token that is quote-unquote allegedly tied to the asset. Remember? I mean, we've seen stablecoins get hit hard for little blips of like 10, 20%. Dudes, we may be able to catch capitulation wicks on some of these things on low time frames. So stay tuned. We'll see. Another thing that's kind of interesting, GameStop sent another 2,200 Bitcoin to Coinbase Prime. So apparently GameStop's dumping some of their Bitcoin. Nikita, for F's sakes. Hey. We dropped that again. I think it says we're live. Somehow it says we kept the X stream, which is surprising. But Nikita, please. No, we started a new one. Damn. All right. Fun stuff. GameStop stocks. This is killing my rhythm, guys, and I'm sorry. I had so many slides ready. We're 40 minutes in, and I've got so many things. So we're gonna take a 10-second break. I'm gonna sip some coffee, and we're gonna knock this out. I got so many slides. So many slides. But moving forward, GameStop. High time frame wedge. They're selling Bitcoin, and the wedge is breaking out. We have somewhat of an H4 support here from like 20 to 22. GameStop number go up. GameStop acts stupid when that cat shows up. But you've got like a 35% range here between these walls before we start getting into the upper order blocks. Time to pay attention because the volatility has squeezed. Now it's time to roll. Moving forward. So, Bitcoin halving tracker, absolute pain. This is on the total backside on the stock to flow things. We never hit Mayer multiples. We never had Pi cycle hit. Bunch of sad times. Maybe it's not over. Maybe everything breaks. Remember, the one thing is before the Bitcoin halving happened, we hit an all-time high on this cycle, and that is a first. It's never happened. So it's really interesting to see that happen in real life. But moving on. Showing drop frames again. F6. We dropped. I'm not even streaming that high of a resolution. I'm going to turn off. I'm just going to turn off Twitter at this point. Alright, YouTube. Let me get the YouTube, just prioritize. Alright, so we'll just see if this stays put. Let me reset the stats. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this recorded either with this dropping like this. Come on. Let me know in the chat. Can you see it says we back? Pepe, are we back again? Man, we're dropping too. I know there's a bunch of Microsoft issues right now. I don't know if that's messing with all these servers because I'm talking through like 2 different servers right now to do this. Come on. I think we're... It just reconnected. Alright, it reconnected. I'm only reconnected to YouTube. I turned off Twitter. So anyway, moving on. Bitcoin H4. We're on the order block here. It looks great. Not really, but it looks decent. We briefly blipped below, which is scary. But dudes, we're holding 89. I'm not going to piss myself yet, but definitely watch for a cascade down. That's totally in the books. Where do we see counter arguments to where this is potentially bullish, and what comes next may surprise us? For one thing, Michael Saylor's bullish. He's managed to get his DC up to $95,000, which is amazing. So shout out Saylor. But if you actually look at the MicroStrategies chart, it's bleeding bad, bleeding really bad. Bleeding to the point like this looks like a Tesla chart bleeding out that it's about to mean revert like crazy. That's where I'm really, really interested. Is this is potentially... Man, is it really this bad? I don't know if the stats are this true. I apologize. My software is telling me this is like effed up. But YouTube, I can watch my live stream here and see if it's actually... Yeah, I guess we're good. I'm just going to keep rolling regardless of the stats. It says we're dropping like half the frames. But MicroStrategies is definitely... I'm watching this one really, really big. If it gets above like 180-ish and crosses the channel walker and actually pulls out of this rainbow stuff, the rainbow reversion bands, that means Bitcoin's bottom, because MicroStrategies is not going to just do a 40-50% move from like 180 to like 2... That's not a 50... Maybe. Anyway, 250 move and not send Bitcoin with it. So it'll be really interesting to see. Moving to Ethereum. Some of the most interesting thing is Ethereum transactions per day are at an all-time high, which is over the past, or I say all-time, at least in the past 5 years, which really caught my eye. But I know gas fees right now are insanely low. But Ethereum, it's a little bit easier to read than the Bitcoin because we had a channel walk down and then we had this thing go sideways and retest this order block. So we have the mid-range order and resistance block here that we've been tracking on the H4 and on the daily. And it's just retesting, which is healthy, and then we can potentially get our move up and out. Will we go past 3,000? I'm not sure, but it's a decent look, not gonna lie. So anyway, it's good there. I like that. The thing is if we legit lose that order block, it's not a good look, because Ethereum tends to like going down to like 21 or like 1,600 on a really, really bad day. We want to see the mid-range order block tested, then we get to see what happens here, then go from there. So moving forward, largest print on record. This caught my eye. If you guys were tweeting about this, the largest print on record, Sol 2x bull Sol stock had a dark block. Damn. Why do I like Sol so much? It's easier to read than Ethereum. It's almost the same setup in the same chart. The thing is we're not dealing with the mid-range order resistance block. We're dealing with the bottom resistance block. So let me tool off the machine learning, and we just look at this order block. This is the King Kong order block that we've been watching for years, and we've been buying Ethereum on the bottom of it, or Ethereum Solana on the bottom of it. Bam, 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 bam. This little deviation, but back to business. Now we have a channel walk down into that order block, and then it's showing that it's actually showing back up and trying to go back. Stream again. Alright, stream is back. I'm just going to keep going through it, guys. Hell or high water. Caroline is back. She's out. She's been on, I think, a halfway house, whatever the supervision stuff, but she's officially out. So let's check our FTT bag, see how she's doing now that she's back and potentially trading. Even though I don't know if her plea deal prevents her from doing this, but Guys, very, very little reaction to her leaving. If anything. The fact that Binance has this in their books is hilarious to me. Absolutely hilarious. I think it's an insult. But moving on. Checking in on our faithful trio. Dime and the two cats, Huck and Hugo. World losing faith in fiat currency. Bitcoin goes down while metals goes up. I think this is the end of the digital gold narrative as a long-term guy. And I think he's right. To that point, we're also seeing markets scared of the Japanese bond market. Had a 6 standard deviation move on the 10-year yields. You actually got Besant talking about it. I don't know. He looks like a movie character. It's crazy. Checking gold. Gold is at ridiculous highs. Actually printing cyans again. $49.60 per ounce. Crazy to see. Will this end? I don't know. Dude, the more America took over Venezuela, America wants Greenland now. Maybe Russia in. I don't know, but people are definitely, if you guys don't know, people are definitely running towards gold, which is great, fun, great things happens, and total world economic pullbacks don't happen when everyone runs to metals. But I tried drawing this to where we could see a potential channel walk. We never really got that, but it's definitely been uptrending to say the least. It's almost at $5,000 an ounce, which is crazy. Silver is about to break $100 an ounce. It's at 99 right now, which is crazy. I thought this was definitely going to cause some type of pullback when silver actually hit pink candles, and blitzed up to $78 here, and ended up pulling all the way back to like 70. Now it's almost to 100. Absolutely crazy. And the one thing I wanted to bring up is these aren't like shitcoins. This isn't like Litecoin popping $10. These are the biggest assets in the world. Silver's $5 trillion. Gold's $34 trillion. Bitcoin's only $1.8 trillion. For a while, Bitcoin was above silver, and then silver's just gone ham. It's absolutely mental. We've actually gone past NVIDIA as well. NVIDIA's only 4.5. So, side kind of crappy thing with Bitcoin, which is interesting, is Netherlands to tax unrealized Bitcoin gains. I'm actually kind of curious to see a country from afar implement this and do this, because I can't imagine how well this goes. But I kind of want to see if it blows up where it does not here over there. But moving on to alts, shout out Sherlock Hodls, one of the greatest shit posters of all time. And it's not that he's like shit posting, he's just genuinely funny. So, stocks all-time high, gold all-time high, silver all-time high, home prices all-time high. Here's our altcoins. That has to feel amazing. Absolutely amazing. So how long is he airborne? Hold on. Let's say airborne. He's falling too. It's like back in my day when I used to be racing like motocross, the farthest I ever jumped was probably like 110 feet. I think I was airborne for maybe 2 to 3 seconds. Very, very, very small time frame. This dude's like airborne for 10. I mean, he's jumping down a hill. Dude, that dude's flying. That's so cool. Anyway, yeah. Altcoins. Shout out CoinMarketCap. Add your details here if you guys don't have this. You can actually edit these stats, what you want to see. I have 24 hours, 1 hour, and I always make sure I have a 7-day percentage. If you guys look at what's been trending over the past 7 days, nothing has been running except Axie Infinity and the Sandbox, and then Layer Zero and QNT, whatever these are. Nothing's been moving. So definitely not getting much of an altcoin trade. If you guys see me posting about Render, long story short, Render is kind of vaporware in my eyes. I'm not a Render maxi, but what I really, really like about Render is that it tends to bounce when it blows out too hard. And it's pretty consistent with it. So I will trade Render when it blows out with rainbows. And I got 2 trades this week. Pretty heavy exposure on this one for 8%. And then I longed back again when it came back close here, and I got about 5%, 4.5 or so. I forgot what it was exactly. And I bailed out before it went really hard. Lesson here. if you want to trade like altcoins right now, don't mirror your bags in any way. I tell people like, oh, I'm longing render. They're like, why on earth are you blah, 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 blah. I can assure you, while I am in it for the tech, right? I'm not bullish render. I just like the market makers of render, and they paint really clean rainbows, and they tend to bounce it. So I can get little scalps out, little tiny exposures, and I don't have to worry about, oh, is it going to go up for 7 days straight? I don't have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about that. But our previous gargantuan run, Zcash, with a ridiculous, it was so crazy. 1,400% run with a full bleed out into the reversion bands and a bounce back up. I was watching this and I was like, man. I even messaged 9K. I was like, I really want to get long on this. But do I? It's bouncing back and forth again. Now we have kind of a triple dash. That's really a triple tap. I don't want to count that wick, but is this the time to reverse? Solana looks like it's about to reverse. Ethereum looks pretty decent. Bitcoin's kind of scary, but you could argue the support's there. If Zcash comes back and reclaims the king, we'll see. Fartcoin doing Fartcoin stuff. Like I said, nothing's going up over high time frames. You can definitely get some volatility left and right. If you guys really just want cheat codes, just set your alerts on these reversion bands and wait your time and watch the bleeds and look how long they bleed before you can catch bounces. It's not rocket science. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes on the code, but it can be traded when you don't want to trade it trade these things. But it's like, it's mentally hard to long there, but there's 50% trades potentially with these things. And we're setting up right now. I'm not a meme guy. I hate touching this stuff, but if you want to get a yin to yang, that's a 50% move on Fartcoin. So anyway, moving on. An interesting one that hit this week was OpenAI's plans to take a cut of customers' AI-aided discoveries. How you do that, how you implement that, how you even talk about that, I do not know. But it's kind of interesting. We'll see. I think YouTube may have actually died. Is it live? No, it is live. Cool. OpenAI is actually saying, so I don't know if they're like, hey, we want a cut of your X paycheck because you made a bunch of bangers with AI. Maybe they want part of your copyright for the code. I don't know. How do you do this? I can understand how they could put ads over stuff and make recommendations and some of the suggestions, but how you take a cut of customers' AI-aided discoveries is crazy. Anyway, moving on. Interesting one you guys haven't seen or may have seen. News lit up this week pretty hard about NVIDIA halting production of all RTX graphics cards, and I think there was other news that started dropping that Nintendo's Switch 2 was having production stopped because they didn't have the memory chips to pull that off. And I was like, let's get this. They're not really sorting any sources on this. Maybe it's true because NVIDIA did talk about slowing down production. It's got fact-checked, and they are cutting back 30 to 40% due to VRAM, so not a total shutdown, but they are dealing with the memory squeeze. NVIDIA right now is just going sideways. Now, remember, that's just the gaming market. NVIDIA itself is now looking at gaming as like a small thing compared to the rest of the industry. They are making way more money doing AI stuff, so AI servers in general. But if this is legit and like memory chips are having issues, like they for sure have delayed the Steam Box release over this. Laptops are getting hard to push for enterprise solutions. Like there's a legit memory squeeze. So a lot of this memory is companies that are overseas that you don't necessarily have access to, but the ones we maybe want to take a look at, definitely. Micron Technologies is going to be one of your memory suppliers for the United States and has a stock ticker in the United States. And if you can't tell, it's been quite bullish for quite some time. Caveat, you're dealing with pinks and cyans, which is a hell of a thing to trade. Normal Rainbow Theory says don't touch that, but when we're dealing with a supply gut on one of the biggest companies in the world, if not the biggest company in the world, you have to look at who's feeding them memory chips. So you've got Micron Technologies in a crazy trend. You've got Western Digital Memory. If you guys don't remember, Dop was talking about Western Digital way back in the day. Shout out Dop for spoon feeding something a lot of people didn't listen to. Crazy, crazy demand here. Crazy, crazy trend. Potential squeeze on the memory. SanDisk has been nothing but up since they've dropped their charts. I say dropped their charts, released their charts here. So yeah, they've been May of 2025. They were $41. Now they're $500, and they're in the freaking cyans. Scary to hit, but dude, the people can't get chips to feed these AI things, and the AI right now, it's basically the improvements are slowing, right? So it's up and it's slowing down, right? How much this increases, right? But the one thing is you can get an increase in the AI models if you keep feeding them video cards. So they're going to keep feeding them video cards. NVIDIA is even releasing models that have half the RAM of what they usually did, just so that they can produce something for the gamers. The other flip side of that, you're going to have to power all this stuff. The United States infrastructure grid is not primed for this. With the technology it currently has, hell, like you've even seen California struggle with the electric cars. Imagine a bunch of 5090s spooled up. Long story short, uranium's starting to break out again. And then, if you're looking at all that, we need to look at obviously like your other things, your Dells, your HPUs, but definitely take a look at AMD as well as keep an eye on Intel. Intel earnings are coming in. People are rallying on that. Tesla is another one where I'm sidelined. I haven't touched Tesla since April of last year, but I will say this. I'm going to be super interested in Tesla once it holds above 487. So I don't like messing with this stuff up here, but I will say it's wedging up into kind of this resistance order block with these 3 pivots here on the H4, and Rainbow Theory loves Tesla on the H4. I want to see that break out and then potentially walk the line as it goes out. But picking back up, let's check out on Gentile. Gentile's wildin'. Complaints about the Rivian software deliveries to Volkswagen. Let's take a look. Volkswagen. So Rivian's definitely had this awesome breakout, bunch of rainbows, bunch of paint, and then it's pulled back. I'm in it for the tech. Legit. I do like Rivian a lot, and I think you're actually maybe getting your potential entry here. Whether or not it comes back down to the form of that wedge, but you're definitely interacting with some pivots here, which I'm very interested in. Sorry, I'm trying to turn off the rainbow alert so it's a little easier to see. Yeah. This is crazy action, though. Pink, 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 pinks, etc. So, anyway. Moving on. If you guys can even see this, YouTube's dropping out like crazy. Putin today is meeting with the delegation team for the United States. So this is very bullish for me. Why? I hate war. I love AK-47s and stuff from Russia. But this is Kushner. So Kushner has met Putin before, and they had, I think, a 5-hour meeting December of last year. This is now the publicly, this is the second meeting with Kushner. There may have been others, but Kushner's meeting with Putin. And if you guys don't know, Kushner is Ivanka Trump's husband. This is the guy that did a bunch of the peace negotiations way back in the last administration in the Middle East that were really amazing. Regardless of what you're Dem, Republican, Independent, whatever, but like peace negotiations, typically cool, right? Good vibe, good vibes. Kushner has an art for that. Now, looking at this, we have Putin shaking hands with Kushner himself. They're meeting at midnight in Moscow. Putin notoriously won't show up for meetings or will make people show up late. And hell, maybe they were supposed to have their dinner at 8 and talk through this, and he stood them up till 12. I don't know, but Putin's going to be pulling an all-nighter with Kushner, which is bullish. Every meeting with Kushner is going to get you one step closer